You're having a wonderful Labor Day weekend on this lovely September 3rd, 2023. I just wanted to go over some basic facts about marketing in this day and age that seems to escape a lot of people who are relatively new to it. Marketing does not mean you need to vlog all day. You don't need to make video logs. You don't need to write blogs all day long. You don't need to make 100 social posts. You don't need to retweet 100 tweets with comments on Twitter or X just because the algorithms say that that's the minimum threshold to get retweeted or re-X'd or whatever it's called. Those are all just time traps that will suck your time away in exchange for something very little, which is bare minimum exposure. And that's only if you pay, whatever the fee is for your verified badges on the various platforms, like $8 on X, and who knows what it is. Depends on your circumstance on the other networks. And it's generally a giant waste of time. And that isn't to say that social media is a waste of time. It certainly isn't. There's definitely value in posting on social and not just putting up, silly nonsense content. And if you want to market your actual content, and yes, there is room for humor, room for memes. You can certainly do that. But there are far more elegant and sophisticated and effective ways to use your time using social media, leveraging it. Of course, you can run paid ads on social media. That's one thing you can do. Of course, be careful when you do that you have all the right profiles and pages and whatever else you need in place so that you don't get your accounts locked out or restricted because you accidentally used a profile that used a company name instead of a personal name. For example, on Facebook, you're supposed to use profiles of real people and link them to company pages. Same thing on other platforms where they make those requirements. LinkedIn is obviously also a great network to post blogs and other content on and videos on, but again, you don't need to be making 5 to 10 blogs a week on each of these sites, because if you do that, you can flood the zone, but you'll get very little effect from any particular post unless you somehow have the content production in place to make high quality posts in every single one of your posts. And most people don't actually do that, especially if they're running the social media for small or mid-sized businesses. So you want to use the time effectively, and one easy way to do that is to actually produce content that's pre-scheduled, that you can take some time to produce properly, give it a little bit of oomph with some production value, make it focused on one topic. Don't try to cover all things. Don't try to be all things to all people. Be very laser focused with the post. And don't veer from the topic in random thoughts. That's obviously perfectly fine for when you're just randomly vlogging or blogging about, diary style information, or you just want to say things. That's all good and well. When you're marketing an actual product for an actual company, you want to keep your focus tight. And the reason for that is attention span of the user. Right? The user attention span is usually very, very limited. People often say that humans now have the attention span of about 8 seconds, which is about 1 second less than that of a goldfish, which has a recorded attention span of about 9 seconds. It may seem unbelievable, but even if it is not correct, it is obviously correct that generally most people do not have a very long attention span, especially in a world of media where they're getting blasted by thousands, if not more, messages a day every time they log on to any particular platform. If they spend even 1 hour on a platform, there's a very high chance that they'll literally screen past or scroll past thousands of messages, at least 1,000 or 2,000 at the very least. Now, what does that mean for you? That means you have to stand out in a crowd where people's attention span is extremely limited and where their attention itself is being diverted and distracted by other content that's getting in the way of your message. So you need to make an impact with your initial impression. And the way you do that is you focus making very catchy thumbnails and titles. And the thumbnail is by the most important thing. And you might have heard this already for years and thought to yourself, yeah, okay, I've heard it, I know it. But do you actually spend time, as much as you should, making the best possible thumbnails that you can? All right, let's look at Mr. Beast's content for a second, or talk about it for a second. Mr. Beast is an extremely popular YouTuber who makes content for basically preteens and teenagers. And I'm sure there's plenty of people who are older that watch it, but in general his content is targeting very young audience. They obviously have a very short attention span. Maybe you're marketing a product to adults. Wonderful, that's great. You're marketing a product for a general audience, so maybe they have a slightly, but only slightly larger attention span. And frankly, again, in this media hyped day and age, even adults are being blasted by tons and tons of media as they scroll through it, whether they're at work or even just relaxing or whatever they're doing. The average person, again, has a very short attention span, whether they're kids or not. And their visual bandwidth is being, if not polluted, overwhelmed by content options. Now, obviously, if you've watched this video until this point, then you have actually probably Zedafna. Ulay Shama. Anulad. You probably have been distracted and diverted by things. For example, I was just diverted by a question in real life, and it can easily draw someone's attention away and pull them off of the topic at hand. So it's important to make content starting with the thumbnail and with the title that stands out, just like Mr. Beast does with thumbnails and titles. Notice that his thumbnails have a particular format, right? And it's been increasingly more consistent for the last few years. He uses very primary colors in most, if not all, of his most popular videos. And if they're not the primary colors, and they're often subdued colors, pastels or whatever, things that stand out when they're in the thumbnail and composed the way that they are. And he often puts a picture, or his team puts a picture of his head in, like his head and shoulders, or usually just his head, in the photo. And that helps to brand him as the face of the brand Mr. Beast. And there is a huge amount invested in each of those thumbnails. It can cost tens of thousands, if not 100,000 or more, just for the thumbnail, which may sound ridiculous to you. But when you consider how much research goes into it and how much work probably goes into producing it so that it's pixel perfect, so that it definitely grabs attention, and they work on emotional triggers and psychological factors that will absolutely get the attention of their intended audience, there's a reason that they do that, right? There's a reason that within 20 seconds of his videos going online, there's 1 million people that watch it. And it's not just because he has 100+ million, followers and subscribers on YouTube. It's because they put the time and effort into making those catchy thumbnails and titles. That kind of response rate is what you get out of having so many subscribers, right? If he just kept his thumbnails and titles the way he did them for the 10 years ago, and then the high likelihood that he would not have grown to 100 million plus people following him or subscribing to him on YouTube. But he did grow by using research, by knowing the psychological factors that affect people to click on a video, by focusing on that as the emphasis of the content, and by making sure that whatever's in the video reflects what you see in the thumbnail. Likewise, whatever product or content you're producing and putting on a video, you too should be using that research, knowing what the relevant psychological factors are for people who click on videos relevant to your topic, knowing what the emotional triggers are that make people click on videos of that kind of topic. And if you're inventing a whole new product and a whole new topic, then you need to work on figuring out how to use known variables for psychological and emotional content triggers to work for your new type of content or product. It's not rocket science, but it is definitely science as well as art. And it's not more one or the other, it's both. You need to focus on both. You need to not waste your time trying to make 100 screen fillers a day. You need to work on making one thing that has extremely strong appeal, that it can go viral in and of itself because people have the compulsion to share it, right? Is it better to make 10 pieces of content that don't get shared very much, if at all, or to focus on making one piece of content that gets shared thousands of times, if not more? You tell me, right? Is it better to focus on spending 2 weeks or a month to make the right video with the right thumbnail that's going to get distributed millions of times, or to try to fill 100 pieces of content in that same month that are, if you're lucky, going to get dozens or hundreds of shares and a few comments? It's all about being selective and focused on high quality, and not just letting everything go through with low quality. Now again, my video channel, where here I talk about marketing stuff, I don't care if this goes viral. I don't care if nobody ever watches this. Some people do, some people don't. My clients certainly know what I do with marketing, and that's a whole different ball of wax. And what I put on YouTube, I put out there just to share with whoever happens to stumble across it and has a curiosity about marketing from somebody who's been marketing non-stop basically since 1980 in different ways and forms on the digital world and the offline world. So take that for what it is, and remember, when it comes to videos, your video is only as good as the first impression you make on somebody, because they will not click to watch it. And if it's a vlog or a blog or any kind of content, if it's a chart with information, you better make that chart look really interesting from the moment people see it. You better make that text really interesting from the moment people see it. Whatever it is, whatever the thumbnail of that post is, whether it's a video or an image or text, or even if it's an audio file, right? Make the presentation of the audio file compelling and unique and different. Work at it. It's worth the effort. Be different. There was that old Apple ad, think different. Well, be different. Don't just think different. Act different. Do differently. It's okay to follow the rules in general. It's important to follow the rules, and then occasionally break those rules. Occasionally, because if you break the rules all the time, then you're not really breaking any rules, and you're just causing chaos for yourself, and it's disorderly and not very useful. But if you usually follow the rules, or you at least know what they are, then it's easy to occasionally break them where it will make an impact and where it can be effective to be different. So act different in the key moments where it matters. Stand out from the crowd by doing things differently than the competition, who are usually copying the others and emulating the others. Don't emulate the others unless you see some really strong reason to do it. Like if you're taking part in a viral competition that's gone super viral, like the Ice Bucket Challenge from years ago, or any number of other challenges where you think it's useful to participate. But if you don't create the actual challenge, then do it differently. Present it differently so people will have a reason to watch your version of it. And if you do create the challenge, create one that's different so that it's not like every other one people have seen, so that they won't just skip over yours, they'll actually want to see your new thing. Anyway, that's what I have to say about that. Good luck to you all in the marketing world, and if you have any questions or comments, hit me up, and that's it. Do the like thing if you want, and all that social stuff, but I really honestly don't care if you do. Nobody's ever going to see these probably, so that's fine. And but if you do watch it and you enjoyed this content, I'm happy for you. I hope you get some value out of it. That's really why I put these things out there. I don't really care if it gets shared. That is not the purpose of these videos. The purpose of these videos is to be for marketers, and for marketers who are actually looking for deeper insights than the usual claptrap you'll find on all the, overhyped marketing channels that will just basically tell you the top 10 things that anyone can find from ChatGPT or Google Bard or whatever, all those AI things, or sites that were up for many years before that. They just typically tell you the 10 boring things. Be unique. What does that mean? I'll tell you specifically what it means. Stand out. Use different colors. Use different fonts. Use different shapes. Use different lighting. I'll actually get specific on those things. That's what I do, because it's really silly when people just tell you, oh, come up with a new product. Well, what kind of product? Oh, just do some research and find out, what kind of research. I actually get specific on those kind of things in these videos. So if you like it, feel free to stay tuned and look through my old videos if you want. There's surely something there you'll find interesting. And if not, that's fine too. All right, take care. Happy Labor Day weekend, y'all. See ya.